Hi, and welcome to the first ever episode of Countersteer. I'm Rayan, and here we try to give bite-sized chunks of car history. We're a new podcast, so if we film something along the way, please forgive us. I find cars fascinating, and I hope that you will too. And with that, now let's get started on the Jaguar XJR-15 LM. Well, to start off, first we have to go back in time to when glowing doors were the thing, cars shaped like bricks, and the Testarossa was unveiled, the 1980s. While car design was taking off radically throughout the world, in Japan with sports cars, or the US perfecting making boring economy cars, in this episode we're going to focus on the land of tea time, Great Britain. 1980s Le Mans was a full-on war. Porsche was dominating with the 1985, 86, and 87 Le Mans wins under the belt, but slowly under the surface you could see Porsche slipping, desperate to stay at the top. In 1985, Porsche finished with the top 5 race winners, all running the Porsche 962C. Just 2 years later, though, at the 1987 Le Mans, Porsche held first, second, and third in the top 5 spots. Cougar and their C20 took over third, and Jaguar with their XJR-8 got a hold of fifth. And then came the 1988 24 Hours of Le Mans. Jaguar stunned everybody, snatching first place from the infamous Porsche, who ruled at the top of their throne. Tom Walkinshaw Racing was the team that ran the Jaguar cars for them. They were the ones running the Jaguar XJR-15 LM. With the newly gained fame from topping the Germans from their throne, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, which I'll abbreviate to TWR from now, set out to create a supercar that the XJ220 dreamed of being. Now with this win came the Jaguar XJR-15's development. The story goes some rich people approached TWR wanting a road legal XJR-9 LM, but of course, which isn't going to be road legal because it's a Le Mans race car. So, you know what TWR did? They picked up the old engine that the XJ220 was supposed to use, the 6-liter V12, and they stuffed it into the chassis that the XJR-9 used. They got Peter Stevens on board to help design the outside of this raging beast. Peter Stevens, the designer of the Juliet to my Romeo, the Holy McLaren F1, needs no little introduction. He designed the car, and it's timeless. Jaguar had a weird love-hate relationship with TWR. The XJ220, which, fun fact, TWR also dabbed in, was branded a Jaguar sport car, not a Jaguar. Well, that's the XJR-15. Fun fact, they came with a communication system with full-on headsets and a mic, which both the driver and passenger will work to communicate, because the V12 is screaming right behind you, being mid-engined. They only made 53 units, of which being blue was the most common. Jaguar XJR-15s have really risen in price. I'm not sure why. There was an auction at the Good Revival in 2017, and that sold for $357,000, a 91 XJR-15. And the same 91 XJR-15 sold at RM Sotheby's Monterey Car Week in 2021 for $1.9 million. So there's only 2 units listed though on Classic.com. Well, now back to the story. Now, XJR-15 LM. There's barely any information on this car, which is what makes it so interesting. Apparently only 10% of parts are the same between the normal, in air quotes, XJR-15 and the LM. I'll be referencing literally only one article here, which is about as comprehensive as it gets, which is from Ken Saito. So, here it goes. The story is that all the LMs were made in secret. Side note, there were only 5, so there weren't that many. TWR met a Japanese businessman, Katsugi Tachi, who I'll just be calling Tachi, in a nightclub to discuss buying more XJR-15s. He had bought some XJR-15s and other expensive rich people in the 80s cars like the F40 and Countach. They both came to an agreement to build 5 more cars after the original 53. Originally, TWR wanted to use the 7-liter V12 used in the 1998 XJR-12 LM, but that didn't happen, and the car ended up using a 7.4-liter V12 from the 1991 LM cars. Well, of course, when you stuff a Le Mans car, which is serviced after every race, into a road car, there will be issues. And there's a lot of reliability issues with the XJR-12 LM. Not the 15 LM. What? Well, yeah. So, of course, besides being run at Silverstone, none of the cars were literally driven except for one of the blue ones. There were 5 made in total. 2 of them were green, 2 of them were blue, and 1 of them was white. All 5 were only sold in Japan. Well, how do you differentiate an XJR-15 LM from a normal one, you say, if you ever see both of them somehow at the same place at the same time? Well, it's pretty easy actually. They both have a massive roof scoop, which shoved more air into the engine. They also added a huge XJR-15 LM banner on the windshield, hoping that if anyone literally ever saw the car, they would know what they were looking at. Besides that, you can also see the occasional LM and TWR stickers on the car. The white car, chassis 001, was seen parked next to a COK GTR somewhere in Japan for a couple years, inside what is kind of like a closed storefront with glass, where you can barely see the monsters hibernating. The green one was found in a state of absolute disrepair. I found some photos of them being tested during development, and a photo of them at the TWR workshop, but besides that, the cars are as real as Casper the Ghost. The article did mention that there are some people who are now caretakers of the LM who convinced Tachi to show the cars for the first time in public after their creation 28 years ago. But not really much is known about these cars. TWR went bankrupt, so all of that info they had is now long gone. And also, these cars are like 30 years old, so the people who made them probably don't remember anything about them anymore. Apparently, Tachi bought all 5, but the article mentioned that the green car changed hands a couple times discreetly under the table, so the collection might not be complete anymore. But yeah, so that wraps up our first episode of Countersteer. Hopefully you learned something, or you just had something to listen to and enjoy. I'll try to bring you more obscure weird cars that nobody cares about anymore, maybe once a week, or every couple weeks, or months, or even years, who knows. Well, have a nice day, and I'll catch you later.